my country lay within a vast desert. When the sun rose into the sky, a burning wind punished my lands, searing the world. And when the moon climbed into the dark of night, a frigid hail pierced our homes. But the winds that blew across the green fields of Hyrule brought something other than suffering and ruin. I coveted that wind, I suppose.
Ganondorf, the former king of the Gerudo tribe, something even the deceased Urbosa had to admit.
It was written that Calamity Ganon once adopted the form of a Gerudo. And that will make this victory all the more satisfying.
The King of Evil has a paramount position in the Zelda series as the human origin of Ganon in all three timeline branches, and is the individual that led to the events that ended with the notorious timeline split. By targeting the Triforce, Hyrule was changed forever. Even so, throughout the lengthy history of the Zelda series, we have only seen and fought against Ganondorf, the Gerudo, in 3 Zelda titles. His debut in Ocarina of Time, then in the Wind Waker, and last but definitely not least, Twilight Princess. Now, 15 years after the duel for Hyrule in the era of Twilight, Ganondorf threatens Hyrule once again, this time in the era of the Wild, and the sequel to The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. And with it, the Zelda team has the ultimate opportunity to give Ganondorf a proper voice actor, and battles that will go down in the history books for their writing, depth, and overall gameplay quality. But to give you a proper sense and also weight to the importance of Ganondorf in the upcoming sequel, I've teamed up with Ganon Doodles, who has drawn 2 beautiful art pieces that you will see later on in the video. So be sure to leave a like as we're going for 3,500 plus in this video, subscribe if you haven't already as we're giving away a Switch Pro or a Switch with game and controller after surpassing 300,000 subscribers, and press that notification bell and again for all notifications. With that out of the way, let's dive deep into Ganondorf's potential voice and the unavoidable decisive battles inside Breath of the Wild 2.
Ganondorf, the character who alone makes this sequel more important than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. With the long-awaited return of the King of Evil, the time has come to add a proper voice behind his personality and actions, and use this to enhance the duels that await in this game. Hence we'll divide this video into 2 parts, and we will begin with Ganondorf's voice. Since A Link to the Past, Ganon has spoken to us through text boxes, and in Ocarina of Time with the inclusion of Ganondorf, we even got a laugh, which is so iconic that I have to play it right now. No doubt, Ganondorf is a talker and speaker who loves to be at the centre of attention. We saw this in his speeches to Link, when the time to pull the Master Sword arrived, and during the final confrontation in Ocarina of Time.
These toys are too much for you. I command you to return them to me.
But nothing tops Ganondorf's performance in The Wind Waker, where he first speaks through a text box at the Forsaken Fortress after pulling the Master Sword, and then in and on the top of his tower. Here we find the deepest Ganondorf so far in the Zelda series, as he is reflective and utters some of the greatest lines in the entire series. One of them you heard in the intro to this video. This writing was Ganondorf writing at its best, and the same goes for the duel that followed the laughter that topped even the one from Ocarina of Time. Finally, we have Twilight Princess, the only Zelda game so far where we read Ganondorf's speech inside Hyrule Castle before the incredible battle that awaits. And this is where we are right before the game that will give something more than a voiced laughter to Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild 2. A Ganondorf sealed in the distant past, who since then has unleashed at least 2 calamities on Hyrule, and where he 100 years ago, through this one, destroyed the Hylian civilization, leaving only Hateno and Lurelin village standing. This Ganondorf is enraged after being imprisoned, and his resurrection, as clearly teased in the reveal trailer, offers us a malnourished but fueled by malice and hatred villain that has so much to gain by getting the right voice actor in Japanese, Spanish, German, French, Italian, Russian, and obviously English.
Since, let's just say that the English voice casting in Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity was very hit or miss at times. An authority like Ganondorf deserves a deep and menacing voice that will fit his current pissed-off malice form, and which no doubt is still after the Triforce and taking over Hyrule.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Well, definitely not that kind of voice acting, but rather something that will stick with us, as this could be Ganondorf's last attempt to claim the complete Triforce, his ultimate goal in the Zelda series. In this regard, we want to point out that we are confident that the Zelda team will select the right Japanese voice actor for Ganondorf, as the anime industry is filled with great villain voices. You don't have to look further than JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Attack on Titan to realize that. The Zelda team knows the importance of this moment, and that they can't screw up the Japanese voice of the villain in the Zelda series, when they decide to finally give him one.
Nah, who are we kidding? They will nail it. The question I rather should be asking is this: will the English localization team find a voice that fits the grandeur and oral talents of Ganondorf? A born commander and leader who had a clear vision and a plan for his tribe and the land of Hyrule until the hero thwarted them. The more I think of it, unlike Link and Zelda, Ganondorf is the same character throughout the timeline, so messing up the selection in English could have consequences for the future, unless this is Ganondorf's last hurrah in the Zelda series. Another future break with Zelda conventions, as the future might bring a new villain. No matter Ganondorf's future, I think that in the case of his voice actor, knowing that Zelda sells the far best in Western markets, Nintendo should invest in a big and iconic celebrity voice, who can be a torchbearer who can do Ganondorf's character justice. Let me provide you with an example, to promote but also add additional character and strength to the most powerful character in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Emhyr Far Emras, the Emperor of Nilfgaard, said that Project Red brought Charles Dance from the Game of Thrones when the show was at its prime.
My character he's a very, very powerful man, probably the most powerful man, and as such, he doesn't need to throw his weight around. He's a man of few words. The words he speaks speak volumes. And he's ruthless. He's ruthless because he has to be.
My patience has its limits. Do not test them. She's in danger.
You must find her.
And when I do, what then?
I shall give her what she deserves. What I saw of video games 10 years ago, I mean, that's like a whole other world.
Ganondorf, even when not fully hydrated, deserves the same treatment, and with more and more celebrity voices being willing to offer their services to video games for the right price, I believe that Nintendo should take it. This opportunity gives us a Ganondorf who we will rarely see throughout the game, but that will leave us with a lasting voice performance if it turns out that this is his last battle in the Zelda series. Speaking of, the unavoidable and ultimate final battle or battles in the Zelda series. Upon his resurrection in that cave, it's obvious that Ganondorf's aim is to escape from the resurrected hero, the Master Sword and the awakening short-haired Princess Zelda. And it's likely that the scrapped concept of Ganondorf on a flying mountain will be realised in the sequel in the form of a flying, or at least moving, Hyrule Castle, a move clearly inspired by Studio Ghibli's movie, much like Link's arm in the sequel. Well, the arm is obviously a reference to Princess Mononoke, but the castle seems to be more tied to Howl's Moving Castle and the Castle in the Sky. I wouldn't be surprised if the Zelda team combines both of them in the final game.
Anyway, it seems that where Breath of the Wild was Ganon waiting for us in his occupied divine beasts and Hyrule Castle, this time we will have to hunt him down and then possibly fight him on numerous occasions, as he slowly but surely regains some of his strength, becoming a bigger and bigger threat. In other words, the opposite of what we faced in Breath of the Wild. And for each of these encounters, speeches and tales of times of myths and a forgotten age, aka all the encounters against the malice-cursed Boar Man in the 35-year history of this franchise. Just imagine how powerful this could be, getting new glimpses of the past narrated by the King of Evil and Darkness himself. It could truly be the most epic Zelda moment in the entire franchise, and that would still be just a build-up to the climax. A possible confrontation beginning in the Great Hall that was cut out of Breath of the Wild but concepted to such a great detail that it was put in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. But for this video, I wanted to give you a visualization of this possible epic confrontation, and thus we teamed up with Ganondoodles to give you something more than just a description. Just like with every battle, Ganondorf's character requires a speech with some sort of message and motivation before the action, or if you prefer manners first. Then let's go down to the fight, which may or may not include Princess Zelda, as only Link with the Master Sword can defeat Ganondorf, but his spirit passes on no matter what.
Instead, a different chain may be needed to be cut to end the curse left by Demise, through his reincarnating hatred once and for all. Princess Zelda, the bloodline of the reincarnated goddess Hylia, as it's based on this one that Ganondorf and Ganon rise again and again, and with him the spirit of the hero, in a never-ending cycle, until possibly this ultimate final Ganondorf battle in the Zelda series, several decades in the making. A battle that might begin in the Great Hall, but then go on throughout the castle, and even beyond across Hyrule, much like the battle against Zant and in a way also Ganondorf in Twilight Princess. A final confrontation that will put every past Zelda final boss fight to shame and completely obliterate Calamity Ganon and Dark Beast Ganon. From voice acting to presentation, gameplay, and finally aftermath.
And there we have done it. We have given Ganondorf the video that his character, voice, and struggle in the sequel deserves. So be sure to share this video so that more people can watch it, and give it a like, subscribe to the Commonwealth Realm, and press that notification bell, and again for all notifications to not miss our Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 videos. Big thanks goes to Super Zelda Girl and Ganondoodles for joining me for this visualization of Ganondorf, his voice and battle in Breath of the Wild, and to all our patreon.com/CommonRealm patrons, and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash for making this video possible. Oh, and join the discussion on our new Discord, The Realm. Link in the pinned comment and description below, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.